Hi, it's Faye and Jeff from earlytrauma.com. We are in a series about our trauma disrupted competencies. We've completed one video just introducing you to the concept of the TDCs and how they originate, how they come about. So, Jeff, talk to us about now that we have the TDCs, now what?
Well, what the TDCs are, trauma disrupted competencies, they're a way to examine children's behaviors. And, the first thing, they're ways to talk about the behaviors in such a way that don't tell the child they suck. When we make the problems, when we try to talk to them without TDCs, we so often basically leave them with the feeling like they're bad because they have those behaviors. With the TDCs, these are trauma disrupted competencies. These are things that were done to the child
Mhm.
via the early trauma. They are not the child themselves. So when we use this approach, the trauma disrupted competencies, we're able to better separate the motivation for the behaviors from the child himself.
So, can you give us some examples of things you've used in the past to illustrate that point? Because parents are always struggling on how to talk to their kids after there's been behaviors.
Well, again, if you're aware of the trauma disrupted competencies, then you're aware of things that are that have gone wrong for your
Hmm.
child. The first one we use, of course, is typically the negative internal working model, where those internal pictures of self, of caregiver in the world, become skewed. They become inaccurate.
Hmm.
Well, they were accurate to the original environment, but inaccurate to the current environment. So, what we do is we help the child understand. Do you know why when I ask you to fill in the blank, brush your teeth,
Hmm.
that there's a part of you that feels like you shouldn't do that.
That
Okay?
maybe I'm telling you that I'm evil or I'm trying to tell
Yeah.
you to
Because
do
that part of
something that
you
would
was
be hard.
hurt by your previous caregiver. There's a part of you that feels a little concerned about absolutely obeying what I tell you to do. It feels a little scary to you, you know. And
Hmm.
that's completely different from,
Go brush your teeth, and why aren't you brushing your
yeah,
teeth?
why
And
aren't you brushing your teeth?
or we're going to get
Hmm.
that sticker chart out, and we're going to see how many stars you get for the next week
Hmm.
for brushing your teeth.
And that's different for the child.
Mhm.
But it also creates the TDCs, use of the TDCs creates a huge difference in parents.
Mhm.
Just to be able to look at the child's behavior and to understand what the motivation is, why this is occurring. And it's not because the child is bad, it's not because we're bad as parents, it's because of competencies that were disrupted as the child grew through that traumatic period.
I know one of the TDCs that throws a lot of kids off are sensory ones.
Mhm.
You know, whether it's touch, you know, they become very aversive to touch, or textures of clothing, tags. Um, some will wear their coat outside in the summer and go barefoot in the winter. And we're saying,
Well, what
what's up with
happens?
this?
What happens when a mom goes to touch her child and the child pulls back in startlement?
Yeah,
What's
well,
the experience for the mom?
the mom is like, I was only going to touch you. I wasn't
Yeah,
going to hurt you.
that's a
They come,
perceived you suck message.
yeah.
And then with the TDCs, you start to understand, well, this child wasn't touched enough during those formative years, and now is a little adverse to it. It ceases to
Hmm.
be a you suck message.
Right. The mom has a template in her head
Correct.
of my child, or on that point, they could have been not enough touch, or it could have been some really wrong touch.
Mhm.
So that the child's reacting from, you know, the historical template. And mom is, when she has an understanding, then she will approach that differently.
Yep. And then, of course, the TDCs, they become ways that we can intervene in the child's problematic behaviors in a way that helps them re-experience those early traumatic events in a way that now they can encode, they can learn properly. So if you're a little touch adversive right now because of the way you grew up, maybe we can practice a little bit.
Yeah.
You touch me and we'll see how long you can stand it.
Hmm.
And then I'll touch you and we'll see how long you can stand it. And you can look at a child and say, all we're trying to do is fix that part that learned something wrong
Hmm.
when you were little.
Hmm.
Okay.
And I think everyone stays much more regulated and
Ah,
in this
huge.
process.
Yeah, use of the TDCs. We've had parents tell us how much more regulated they can stay because again,
Hmm.
those the sharing of those you suck messages back and forth become much more minimized.
Yeah, yeah.
Now these are all, there's six of them.
Hmm.
Would you like to list the whole six?
Oh, I can do that.
Go ahead, list them all. List them all
Negative
for me.
internal working model. Then I alphabetize everything else after that. Developmental delays, emotional response, object relations. There's usually a lot of distortions around that, self-regulation, and sensory processing. So there's the six.
Now these are established schools of thought in the psychological community. So this is not something new and inventive. It's not a strange and bizarre way of looking at human behavior.
No.
These all of these fields have been around for years.
Hmm.
But what we do is we help parents recognize and apply this learning to what they're seeing in their children.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like most about it, for me,
Hmm.
is the opportunity. It basically it turns every behavior, problematic, every unusual, difficult behavior to deal with. It creates an attitude of these are now opportunities for healing.
Hmm.
This is not something, and from a child's point of view, this is not something that's wrong with me.
No.
This is a hurt part of me that I can fix, that I
Yeah.
can take care of.
And it's not just, we're not talking about just behavior change because
No.
some of the behaviors, we find with our foster adopt kid might be unusual, but they're not bad behaviors. If you slept for months on dirty sheets and you got used to that smell, and then you move into a home where mom changes the sheets every week or so, there could be conflict. It's not a bad behavior, but it does create conflict. And if we understand that and explain it to the kids and help them understand how in the future that could be problematic and just the hygiene and all that goes along with it, uh, we're helping that brain mature in healthier ways.
We talk so often about the battle of wills that occurs when you bring a traumatized child into a healthy family system, and how, those beliefs of I'm bad, you're bad, the world is bad,
Hmm.
you know, clash with I'm good, you're good, and the world is a safe place. How that battle occurs, and without the TDCs, okay, what ends up happening is so many times the parents end up thinking just like the children.
Hmm.
They end up losing their perspective and adopting the child's
Right.
traumatized perspective of, I'm not good enough to do this.
Yeah.
This child is really bad.
Hmm.
Okay. And, I can't even keep him safe.
Hmm.
And what the TDCs allows, they allow the parents to have something they can do.
Hmm.
And they, in every circumstance, to contribute to healing. And that's an incredible tool in that battle of wills because it allows the child to experience the problematic behaviors as always something that can be fixed.
Yeah.
It's not me, it's just
And
something that I was taught and it can be fixed and healed.
yeah, I also think it helps parents classify behaviors and then they know how to find professionals, especially, when we're talking sensory. There's OTs and PTs that can help out with those pieces. So, if there's developmental delays, we can explain that to school staff. We have a
Mhm.
means to categorize the behaviors and then seek the professionals to help us with each of those
So
too.
that the TDCs become a powerful tool for incorporating support team members.
Right, right.
Excellent.
And explaining the behaviors. When we say my child does this because of their history and it's linked to this TDC, you're going to sound at least more competent yourself when
Mhm.
you're able to explain the behaviors that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. We're
So,
currently writing another piece on the trauma disrupted competencies. We'd encourage you to join the website in all situations.
yes.
Okay,
All right.
thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.